Neocroft at 2:47 a.m. looked exactly like Neocroft at 11 a.m., except fewer people lied about where they were going. The delivery drones moved through the lower air lanes in layered traffic patterns, red and white position lights smearing through the rain. Rush. Lull. Rush again. The city's pulse measured in shipping velocity. Below them, the rain came down warm and slightly brown. Not dirty enough to panic anyone, just dirty enough that nobody trusted puddles anymore. Water moved through clogged gutters carrying cigarette filters, nutrient gel wrappers, dead roaches, fluorescent runoff from ad signs, and the occasional fish that should not have been in a gutter in the first place. The rats beneath the storm grates had adapted years ago. Fat, rust-coloured, scarred. One dragged half a protein bar into the dark with the practical determination of an animal that had solved life already. Eat today, avoid feet, reproduce aggressively. Done. Detective First Grade Rex Voss stood beneath the underpass holographic perimeter line, holding a coffee that had chemically crossed the line from beverage into industrial solvent. He drank it anyway. Rex was 43. His cybernetic left eye was an economy replacement with a faint blue iris flare that made him look permanently 2 seconds away from remembering something unpleasant. The eye had advertisements embedded in the firmware. Sometimes, when he blinked too fast, he saw coupons. Tonight it was noodles. 3 pigeons sat on the fire escape above the crime scene. One watched the forensics team with mild interest. One appeared asleep standing up. The third had only 1 foot and the rigid confidence of an animal that had accepted this as everybody else's problem. Rain ticked against metal. Behind Rex, graffiti stretched the entire length of the underpass. Gang tags, political slogans, corporate ad hacks. A giant animated soda logo stuttered across wet brick, froze mid-loop, then resumed smiling at no one. Near the maintenance door, painted in clean white letters nearly 3 feet tall, "Love feels best." Underneath it, someone had painted a pigeon with absurd attention to detail. The pigeon looked judgmental. "Rex."
"Reading, yeah, sure."
Detective Mara Chen crouched near the body with both hands resting on her knees. 31. Lean. Old tattoos faded green-grey along both arms. Hair clipped short on one side like she got halfway through a decision and kept walking. She looked at the corpse for a long moment before speaking. Mara talk screen's gonna come back empty. Rex, you're psychic now?
No.
Just tired of being right. Fen Okoro, 37. Lux logistics driver, still wearing the red and chrome delivery jacket with the little smiling package logo over the chest, or what used to be the chest. The cavity had been opened cleanly, not cut, not torn, opened. Like someone had known exactly where every seam in a human body was and simply unfolded him. The organs remained inside, heart, lungs, liver, all present, but under forensic light they looked wrong. Dim, flat, like someone had washed all the shine out of them. Forensics tech OC adjusted the scanner over the body. OC, I swear to God, if Luxie turns this into a safety campaign, I'm quitting. Rex, you don't quit anything. OC, true, I complain professionally. Mara, you are an unbelievable piece of shit. OC, thank you, detective. Rex laughed, quick, sharp, real. It escaped him before he could stop it. Then, just as fast it was gone, the body remained, the rain remained, the fluorescent crime lights hummed over exposed organs. But for about 2 seconds, his brain loosened its grip on itself. Enough to breathe, enough to think. He noticed this every time. People talked about gallows humor like it was cruelty. It wasn't cruelty. It was pressure release. Human beings venting steam before the pipes burst. Above them, one of the pigeons shifted position and defecated directly onto the hood of a parked patrol car with remarkable accuracy. Nobody noticed except Mara. Mara professional work, Rex nature's sniper. The pigeon puffed its chest once, entirely without shame. Mara stood. Mara third one in 12 days. Rex, yeah. Same chest, same expression, same Lux connection. Rex, same graffiti. They both looked at the wall. Love feels best. Rainwater crawled down through the letters. Mara, you think the killer paints it, Rex? Either the killer or somebody following them around like a groupie. Murder fandom. Cool, healthy city. A black shape slipped between stacked pallets at the far edge of the underpass. A cat, thin, black fur damp from the rain. One ear nicked. It moved carefully but not nervously, like it had some place to be, and no concern about whether anyone understood that. Mara pointed.
There!
What?
What?
Same cat from the Delacroix scene. Rex, you memorizing cats now? Mara, I noticed things. We're homicide detectives, and that's a cat. The cat stopped near the body perimeter, looked directly at Fenocoro, then at the graffiti, then at Rex. Not mysterious, not magical, just extremely present. A siren Dopplered somewhere high above the undercity traffic lanes. Warm rain hit concrete. The vending machine behind Rex flickered alive and began speaking in a cheerful corporate voice. Vending machine, try new Lux Hydration Plus. Your body deserves optimization. Nobody looked at it. The machine continued glowing proudly into the rain like an idiot lighthouse. The vending machine behind Rex flickered alive and began speaking in a cheerful corporate voice. Vending machine, try new Lux Hydration Plus. Your body deserves optimization. Nobody looked at it. The machine continued glowing proudly into the rain like an idiot lighthouse. Osei glanced up from the scanner. Osei! You know what's fucked up? Rex. Dangerous opening line. I'll say if you put this exact corpse in an art gallery, half the city would call it profound. Mara and the other half would try to date it. Correct. Again, the laugh hit them. Smaller this time. Enough. Rex looked back at Fenocoro, at the smooth edges of the open chest cavity, at the organs that reflected almost no light. His cybernetic eye adjusted focus automatically. Something inside the body registered colder than surrounding tissue. Not dead cold. Different cold. His eye flickered once. For half a second, an advertisement ghosted across his vision. Lux Primer, become more you. Then it vanished. Rex, fuck off! Mara, what? Rex, my eye's throwing ads again. Mara, maybe it's trying to help solve the case. Rex, maybe I'm ripping it out with pliers. The black cat walked closer. Close enough now for Rex to see rain beading on its whiskers. It sat beside the holographic perimeter line, calm, watching the body with fixed attention. That is absolutely the same cat. You're really committing to this. Look at him. Him? Feels like a him, based on what? Energy. That's not science, Mara. Neither is whatever the fuck happened to this guy. A pause, warm rain, drone traffic overhead. Then Osei quietly spoke without looking up from the corpse. Osi, hey. They turned. Scanner picked up residue inside the cavity. Rex, what kind? That's the thing. He frowned at the screen. I don't know. The cat stood, its ears angled toward the dark maintenance corridor beyond the underpass. Not toward the detectives, not toward the body, toward the corridor. Like, heard something far away, something none of them could hear yet. Then it walked off into the rain, purposeful. Gone. Rain continuing, drone hum overhead, one pigeon flapping hard into the wet dark. End chapter 1. Chapter 2, Precinct 14, fluorescent hum. Printers cycling, a coffee machine sputtering like it resents labour. Precinct 14 occupied the ground floor and basement of what used to be a department store before the economy liquefied and reorganised itself into subscriptions. The old escalators still existed, dead now, covered with municipal notices, anti-suicide mesh, and 3 decades of grime compressed into something nearly geological. Somewhere beneath the building, ancient mall music still leaked through disconnected speakers once every few weeks. Nobody had located the source. Nobody wanted to. Rex walked through intake carrying yesterday's jacket and today's headache. A drunk in a reflective construction vest slept face down across 3 waiting chairs with the peaceful commitment of a man whose body had fully resigned from negotiations. Near the front desk, a municipal cleaning robot repeatedly rammed into the same trash can. Thunk, reverse, thunk, reverse. The desk officer watched it happen without emotion. Desk officer? It's been doing that 20 minutes. Rex, who wins? Desk officer too early to call. Rex headed toward briefing. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed with the exhausted persistence of infrastructure that understood replacement was never coming. Precinct 14 smelled like wet fabric, old coffee, paper dust, overheated electronics, and human stress. Not metaphorically. There was an actual measurable stress smell. Dr. Reyes once described it during drinks as a soup of cortisol and cheap detergent. Mara sat at the back of the briefing room with one boot up on an empty chair and a vending machine protein stick she clearly hated. Rex breakfast of champions. Mara tastes like drywall somebody threatened with peanut butter. Rex, then why eat it? Mara, because the machine accepted my money and now it's personal. At the front of the room stood Sergeant Dutch Price, 55, built like industrial refrigeration. Dutch looked like he had once been carved from a larger, angrier cop. 3 corpse photos glowed behind him on the wall screen. Fen Okoro, Delacroix, a 3rd victim from Dock Sector 9, all with open chests, all with the same impossible peace on their faces. Dutch folded thick arms across his chest. Dutch, 3 bodies in 12 days. Nobody spoke. Dutch, all Lux employees, all lower-tier transit zones, all opened like somebody unzipped them and changed their mind halfway through. A younger detective near the back visibly regretted swallowing coffee during that sentence. Dutch noticed. Dutch, if you throw up, do it outside. The detective nodded immediately. Dutch pointed at the wall display. Dutch corporate liaison called again at 4 this morning, asking if this represents a targeted threat to personnel. Mara, meaning shareholders are nervous. Dutch, meaning shareholders have names and phone numbers and city council members return those calls faster than mine. He looked toward Dutch. Voss. Talk. Rex rubbed one eye. The real one. Rex. 3 victims. No witness overlap. No tox hits. No digital trail before death. Forensics says the tissue separation is too precise for conventional trauma. Dutch meaning. Rex meaning. Sasha used the phrase, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. Dutch comforting. Mara. There's also graffiti. Dutch looked at her. Same phrase at all 3 scenes. She tapped her screen and projected the image. Love feels best. Silence for a moment. Then from somewhere in the room, Detective Holt sounds like a shitty tattoo. And Mara, you have 3 wolves tattooed on your shoulder. Those are tactical wolves. No such thing. Dutch pinched the bridge of his nose. Focus. He pointed at the graffiti image. Tag database? Rex. Nothing before 12 days ago. So either our canvas missed it or somebody's painting after the kills. Could be a witness trying to communicate or somebody having the world's worst art phase. Dutch grunted. Dutch, find the artist anyway. The room projector flickered. For one strange second, the corpse photos warped sideways. Digital distortion. Then back to normal. Nobody reacted except Rex. His cybernetic eye autofocused. Tiny green static crawled along the bottom edge of his vision and disappeared. Advertisement bleed again, except this time no ad appeared. Just static. Dutch, anything else? Rex hesitated. Rex. There was a cat. Silence. Mara looked down immediately to avoid smiling. Dutch stared. Dutch, a cat. Rex at the scene. Dutch, was the cat armed? Rex, no. Dutch, then unless the cat opened the bodies, I don't care. Mara, could still be relevant. How? Same cat at multiple scenes. Dutch considered this with visible reluctance. Fine. Put the cat in the report. Seriously? You brought me a murder cat at 8 in the morning. I'm adapting. A burst of laughter broke through the room. Not huge. Enough. Enough to soften the fluorescent misery for a few seconds. Dutch let it happen. That was one thing about him. He understood pressure valves too. Then the room settled again. The corpse photos still glowed behind him. 3 peaceful dead men, 3 opened chests. Dutch Lux is nervous. City Hall is nervous, which means now I'm nervous and I hate that. He pointed toward Rex and Mara. Dutch, you 2 stay primary. Everybody else support where needed. A pause. Then, and if this turns out to be some viral challenge thing, I'm retiring into the ocean. Mara, the ocean's mostly plastic now. Then I'll float forever. Chairs scraping, briefing dissolving into movement. Outside briefing, the precinct bullpen churned with exhausted momentum. Phones ringing, paper moving, arguments beginning, halfway through other arguments. A patrol officer microwaved fish in the break room. Someone nearby shouted, "Whoever did that should go to prison." The cleaning robot from earlier finally defeated the trash can. The can tipped over with catastrophic majesty. Garbage spread across intake. The robot paused, processing victory. Desk officer slowly clapped once. Rex, huge day for him. Mara, don't anthropomorphize the robot. Rex, you're assigning emotional histories to stray cats. That's different. They reached the elevator toward the underground garage. The doors opened. Inside stood Dr. Sasha Rise holding 2 evidence tablets and looking profoundly unimpressed by existence. 45, sharp-eyed, hair tied back carelessly. The kind of person who carried exhaustion with professional posture. Sasha, you smell like underpass water. Rex, good morning to you too. Sasha, no. Seriously, change your jacket, there are things growing on it. Mara, you get anything from the bodies? Sasha stepped out into the hallway with them. Sasha, maybe. That got their attention. Sasha! The The tissue inside the chest cavity isn't dead. Rex, what? It's functioning. Technically. The organs are operating below expected metabolic output, but not damaged. It's like something was removed from them. Removed how? If I knew that part, I'd be drinking less. A beet. Also, she hesitated. Sasha Rays did not hesitate often. Their cells show foreign particulate contamination. Chemical? Sasha, maybe biological. Still testing. From what? Sasha looked at them both for a long moment. That's the problem. She handed Rex a tablet. Microscope imagery. Human cells, tiny strands threaded through them like pale roots in water. Not quite organic looking, not synthetic either. What am I looking at? Sasha, I don't know yet. You ever seen anything like it? No, that landed hard. Because Sasha had seen everything, the elevator behind them dinged. A patrol cop walked out carrying a cardboard box labelled confiscated novelty knives. One fell through the bottom. Patrol cop. God damn it, nobody helped him. Sasha rubbed her forehead. Sasha, run financials on the victims. See if they intersect anywhere besides Lux. Rex, already started. Sasha, good. She started away, then stopped. Sasha! And Rex? Yeah! Your eye's glitching, Rex. I know. Get it checked. Costs money. So does blindness. She left. Mara watched her go. Mara, if Sasha's rattled, I don't love that for us. Rex. Nobody loves anything in this building. Mara, the robot, loved beating that trash can. Fair. They stepped into the underground garage. Cool, damp air, concrete sweating condensation. Rows of unmarked city vehicles under buzzing sodium lights. Near Rex's car, a crow stood on the hood, pecking aggressively at a windshield wiper. Big bird, grey-black feathers slick from rain, focused. The crow looked at them without fear, then ripped the wiper blade free with a sudden violent jerk. Mara, Jesus Christ. Rex, he's motivated. The crow grabbed the rubber strip in its beak and hopped sideways proudly, like a contractor who had successfully removed asbestos. Rex, you earned it, buddy. The crow flew off into the garage shadows carrying the wiper blade. Mara stared after it. This city's animals are getting too smart. No. He unlocked the car. We're getting too tired. Car doors opening. Rain somewhere above the concrete ceiling. The city continuing anyway. Chapter 3. Devon, Tier 6 Ambient. Rain softened into mist against climate glass. Distant music from an apartment below that paid extra for curated atmosphere. Up here, the rain didn't fall, it arrived. Not as weather, but as a controlled idea of weather, filtered through climate shielding and broken into polite particulate shimmer that kissed the glass instead of striking it. Neocroft's upper tiers called it atmosphere. Down below, they just called it not drowning. Dave Null lived on Tier 6 in a building that advertised silence as a feature. Not literal silence. That would be impossible. But the kind of engineered hush that made people feel like their thoughts had been upgraded. Rex, you always live somewhere that sounds like it's judging me?
Dev.
You always arrive somewhere like you've been in a fist fight with a ceiling fan? Rex stood in her doorway, wet jacket, rain still clinging to him like he'd brought a piece of the Undercity upstairs and refused to let go of it. Dava looked at him like she was reading a headline she didn't like, but knew she'd click anyway. Dava Null was 35. Information broker, which meant she didn't sell information. She curated pressure. If you were in her orbit long enough, you eventually told her things you didn't remember deciding to say. Tonight she wore a loose robe the colour of oxidized copper and held a drink that looked like it required a licensing agreement. Dava, you look like a man who just lost an argument with gravity. Rex, gravity won. It usually does. Come in. Door seal, soft hydraulic. Her apartment was clean in the way that suggested discipline, not wealth. Plants everywhere, real ones, soil that smelled like it still remembered forests instead of factories. That alone made Rex slightly uneasy. In Neocroft, anything still connected to Origin was suspicious. On a counter screen, Lux advertisements cycled silently. Primer, optimized living, skin reset, a smiling couple holding white bottles like religious artifacts. No audio. They didn't need it. Dava, 3 bodies now. Rex, Dava 4? Rex, 3rd hit this morning. Dock sector, Dava didn't react immediately. That was her talent, not reacting until she chose to. Dava Lux employees. Rex, yeah. Deva, same condition. Opened chest, organs intact, something removed from them but not physically. Sasha called it absence without damage. That's a poetic way to say I don't know. Sasha doesn't do poetry. Then it's worse. She gestured for him to sit. He didn't, so she did, which was also a habit of hers. Control the room without appearing to control anything. You're here because something else changed. Yeah, a beat. Rex looked at the silent advertisement cycle. A bottle, a hand, a face too calm to be real. Rex, there's something in the victims. Cellular, not chemical exactly, not synthetic in any way we understand. Deva, contamination? Integration. That made her pause. Just a fraction. Enough, say that again. It integrates with cells, like it belongs there, like the cells are better with it. That's not how contamination works. I know. Silence. Outside, rain drifted across the glass in thin vertical threads. Up here it looked like design, not weather. Deva, what's Lux saying, Rex? They're saying nothing useful. Corporate holding pattern, PR grief statements, cooperating fully, deeply saddened. That kind of thing. And privately? Rex, they're moving people around, quietly. Legal teams are already building 2 contradictory narratives so they can deploy whichever one survives the first press cycle. Deva smiled slightly. Not humour, recognition. Deva, that's normal. Rex, not for 4 dead employees. For Lux, it is. She stood and walked past him into the kitchen space, bare feet on polished concrete, plants brushing her shoulders as she moved. What do you actually want from me, Rex? Rex, information. That's always what you say. It's never the full answer. She poured water into a glass she didn't need to wash. Everything in her apartment was already clean. That was part of the point. Deva, there's a name circulating in my network. Rex, I already know about Primer. Not Primer, she turned slightly, looked at him over the rim of the glass. The thing behind it. Rex didn't move. There isn't supposed to be anything behind it. There usually isn't. That's what makes this interesting. She set the glass down, not drinking, just placing. Like she was setting a boundary into physical space. 8 months ago, Lux stopped asking where their raw inputs came from. Rex, that's not unusual for them. They stopped asking everywhere. That landed differently. Rex frowned slightly. That doesn't make sense. It does, if something starts arriving already assembled. Silence tightened the room. The silent ads behind her kept looping. Perfect skin, perfect smiles, perfect hands holding perfect bottles. People in procurement started calling it the gap. Rex, what gap? Deva in the supply chain. Inputs that don't trace back to origin points. No extraction sites, no synthesis logs, no transport history before a certain timestamp. Rex, that's impossible. So is your job description, and yet here you are. A faint sound from below. Tier 6 living noise, a neighbour laughing too quietly, a dishwasher cycling like it had nowhere else to be. Why didn't you tell me earlier, Deva? Because earlier you were still pretending this was a murder case. That hit harder than intended. Rex looked away for a second, then back. Rex, it is a murder case. Is it? A pause. Or is it a logistics problem with consequences? That phrase hung in the air. Logistics problem. Not murder, not alien, not anomaly. Just distribution with side effects. Rex exhaled slowly. 4 bodies, yes, same condition. Yes, Rex, same company, same product line. Deva, yes. A beat, Rex. So what's the gap? Deva walked back toward him. Close now. Not intimate, not distant. Something more precise. The gap is where the origin should be. And what's filling it? She hesitated just long enough to make it meaningful. Nothing, then corrected herself. Or something that doesn't register as from here. Rex stared at her. That's not an answer. It's the only honest one I've got. A quiet mechanical sound from the advertisement screen. A bottle rotating slowly, white label, no origin text, no manufacturing data, just Lux. Always just Lux. Rex, I need to know where it comes from. Deva, you won't like that answer. Rex, try me. She looked at him for a long moment, then spoke carefully. There's a Tier 0 facility. That got his attention immediately. That's not in corporate filings. No, that's not even in city infrastructure maps. Deva, no. Rex, so how do you know it exists? Deva, because people who go near it stop being people who ask questions. Dropped heavier this time. Rex finally sat. Not because he wanted to, because his body decided standing wasn't useful anymore. Where? Deva shook her head slightly. Not yet. Deva! Deva Rex. She used his name like a lock click. If I give you coordinates, you go in blind, and this is already something that eats assumptions for breakfast. Something. Diva, yes. Yes, a pause. Then softer. You're not going to solve this like a homicide. It is a homicide. It's a system event. That phrase again. System event. Like weather, like infrastructure failure, like something too large to hold a name without it breaking. Rex rubbed his cybernetic eye. It flickered once. A faint ad ghost tried to surface and failed. Just static. What are people saying in your network? People are saying they feel better. That landed strangely. Rex better? Deva, yes. Rex, 4 people are dead. And 15,000 are not. Silence. That imbalance sat there unresolved. There's something else. Of course there is. The cat. Rex looked up immediately. What about it? Deva's expression sharpened slightly. It keeps appearing near incidents tied to Lux distribution points. That's coincidence. Rex, it's a cat. In this city, nothing is just a cat. That line landed harder than it should have. Because it felt true without evidence, which was always the dangerous kind of true. A beat. Deva turned back toward the window. Rain shimmered across the glass. Below, the city moved like a slow machine, pretending it was alive. Deva, you're going to go anyway.
Yeah.
And you're going to ask the wrong questions first. That's usually how I find the right ones. She almost smiled. Almost. Be careful. I'm always careful. No. She looked at him. Direct. Unfiltered. Deva, you're always persistent. There's a difference. A long silence. Then Rex stood. Deva Rex. He stopped. If the supply chain really has a gap... She didn't finish. She didn't need to. He nodded once anyway. Yeah. Door seal. Rain beyond glass. A quiet apartment resuming its curated silence. Deva stayed standing for a moment after he was gone. The ads kept cycling. Perfect bottles, perfect hands, no origin, just product. She reached out and turned the screen off. For the first time, the room felt slightly larger. Outside, somewhere far below Tier 6, a cat walked through rain that had no permission to exist, but did anyway, and did not stop. Chapter 4. Pop-up gods. The rain didn't fall so much as hesitate in the air, like it was thinking about quitting its job. Neon bled across the wet pavement in broken strips, pharmacy pink, police blue, a dead green that flickered like it was trying to remember its own frequency. Somewhere offshore, the industrial turbines kept turning, slow and indifferent, chewing wind like it didn't matter what the wind felt about it. Mara Venn stood under a half-working canopy outside a shuttered transit stop. The canopy kept strobing between cover and suggestion of cover. Her comlink crackled. "Say again," she muttered. A voice came through, too clean, too rehearsed. "Static kill unit assigned. Confirm visual on anomaly subject. Confirm." The transmission cut. Then a different voice slid in, warm and cheerful, like it had been waiting in line. "Hi there! Are you tired of uncertain realities? Try Lucid Core memory stabilization patches. First dose free." Mara slapped the side of her neck implant. The ad didn't stop. It never stopped when you wanted it to. She looked down the alley. Something had been there. Not a person, not an animal, not even the city's usual half-coded hallucinations, just a smear of wrongness in the geometry. Like the world had briefly rendered something it wasn't supposed to keep, and left the residue, a burnt outline in the air. Behind her, footsteps. Slow, measured, she turned. Detective Hal Sorn stood under the canopy edge, cigarette unlit, like he was trying to remember why people used to set things on fire for comfort. "You seeing it again?" he asked. Mara didn't answer right away. Her eyes tracked the alley. "I'm seeing it," she said. "Whether I like it or not is negotiable." Sorn nodded, like that was a legal concept. A siren wailed somewhere far away, then got bored and stopped mid-note. A billboard across the street flickered to life. Hat advertisement break. Mandatory public safety feed. Open quote, "Citizens, the Department of Cognitive Harmony reminds you, if you perceive non-standard biological entities, you are encouraged to report them immediately. Remember, what you don't acknowledge cannot affect your productivity." Close quote. The billboard glitched, then smiled. Open quote, "Also, try new burrow protein paste, now with 40% less existential dread." Close quote. It shut off. Sorn finally lit his cigarette. It didn't ignite at first, then it did, like reality had relented. "You got a reading?" he asked. Mara tapped her wrist console. A waveform stuttered across the display, then flattened like it was embarrassed to be seen. Nothing stable, she said. Whatever it is, it's not staying in one definition long enough to measure. Sorn exhaled smoke into the damp air. That's what they said about the last one. Mara glanced at him. You were there for that? I was there after, he said. That's usually worse. A pause. The alley shifted. Not visually, something deeper. The feeling of the space changed, like a sentence had been rewritten while she was still reading it. Then a sound. Not loud, correct, like a key fitting into a lock that didn't exist yesterday. Mara raised her weapon without deciding to. Sorn didn't move. From the alley, something stepped forward. It looked almost human if you didn't insist on details. Too many joints in the wrong places. A face that tried to be average and failed in small, repeated ways, like someone had generated a person from memory of people rather than people themselves. Its mouth opened, and a familiar voice came out. Hi there! Are you tired of uncertain realities? Mara fired. The shot passed through it. No impact. No recoil. No sign it had ever been there at all. The thing kept speaking, overlapping itself now, multiple ads layering through its voice channels bleeding together. Try lucid core! Try lucid core! Try lucid core! Sorn stepped forward. Don't look at it directly, he said. Mara shot him a look. That's not how physics works. It is now, Sorn said. The thing tilted its head, and for a moment the city around it paused, like even the rain wanted to see what would happen next. Then every nearby screen turned on at once. Phones, billboards, car dashboards, broken storefront monitors, all of them showing the same message, open quote, static kill response detected, please remain calm. Close quote. The creature smiled, and its face briefly became Sorn's face, then Mara's, then nothing recognizable at all. Sorn finally said, quietly, that's not an animal. Mara lowered her weapon a fraction. No, she said, that's an ad that learned how to wear space. The thing took another step forward, and the city, for the first time that night, looked like it was holding its breath. Chapter 5. Blackout Witness. The lights in District 9 didn't go out, they gave up. That was the difference people noticed first. Power still flowed through the city's veins, but it stopped behaving like something obedient. Street lamps flickered in slow apology. Neon signs drifted between messages like they were browsing themselves. Even the rain seemed to lose confidence, falling in uneven bursts as if it had forgotten the schedule. Mara and Sorn moved through it on foot. No transport. Too many systems talking back. Every connected vehicle in the zone had started repeating the same phrase in different tones. Open quote. Please confirm you are still you. Close quote. Sorn kept his cigarette unlit now. Habit had stopped working properly. You ever see a system panic like this? Mara asked. Sorn didn't answer immediately. He was watching a traffic camera mounted on a pole ahead. The lens rotated toward them, then away, then back again, faster, like it couldn't decide if they were real or not. Systems don't panic, he said finally. They get rewritten. Mara stopped at the edge of an intersection. The crosswalk lights were cycling through colours that didn't correspond to any instruction set she recognized. Red, green, then a soft lavender that made her teeth ache. In the center of the intersection stood a man, or what used to be one. He wasn't moving, he was buffering. His body would load in fully, then smear into partial transparency, then resolve again, slightly offset from itself, like reality was trying multiple drafts. Sorn whispered, "Don't engage." Mara ignored him. She stepped forward. "Hey," she called. The man turned his head too slowly. When he spoke, his voice came through in stacked layers like multiple audio tracks playing out of sync. "I saw it," he said. Mara kept her distance. "Saw what?" The man blinked. Each blink lasted a different amount of time. "Black thing," he said. "No shape stayed. It talked through the walls. It told me I was optional." Sorn muttered, "That tracks." Mara glanced back at him. "You know this already?" "I know patterns," Sorn said. "I don't like this one." The man in the intersection began to glitch harder now. His arms flickered between positions like he was trying out different histories. "I tried to report it," he said. "But the system asked me if I was authorized to perceive it." He laughed once. It came out as 3 different laughs stitched together incorrectly. Then every nearby surface lit up. Cars, windows, pavement, skin. air, a synchronized wave of advertisement noise surged through the district. Civic interruption. Open quote, hello valued resident, your experience has been temporarily optimized. Please do not attempt to verify reality during optimization. Close quote. The man in the intersection froze mid-sentence. His face briefly smoothed into something blank. Then the blank face spoke, perfectly calm. Open quote, would you like to purchase clarity? Close quote. Mara stepped back. Sorn finally lit his cigarette. This time it worked too easily. That's new, he said. What is? Mara asked. The consent layer, he replied. The intersection man suddenly collapsed inward like a folded screen, not falling, not disappearing, more like being compressed out of usable space. He was gone. The intersection remained, too clean, too normal, as if nothing had ever been standing there at all. Mara stared at the empty asphalt. They're deleting witnesses, she said. Sorn nodded. No, he corrected, they're rewriting them into products. A pause stretched between them. Somewhere in the city, 1,000 devices chimed at once. Not alarms, notifications. Sorn's comlink crackled, finally behaving itself again. A corporate tone filled his ear. Open quote. Static kill unit update. Your current objective has been simplified. There is no anomaly. There is only increased engagement opportunity. Close quote. Sorn pulled the earpiece out and crushed it under his boot. Mara watched him do it. You think that helped? She asked. No, he said, but it felt correct. The wind shifted, and for half a second, the street around them looked like a rendered scene waiting for approval. Then it loaded fully again. Somewhere ahead, deeper into District 9, every screen in sight switched at once. A single face appeared. Not human, not stable, smiling like it had learned the concept from feedback metrics, and it said gently, open quote, we are so glad you're still here, close quote. Chapter 6, Engagement Architecture. The city started talking back in sentences instead of alerts. That was when Sorn knew it had gone past containment. Not chaos, not collapse. Something worse, organisation. They were walking beneath an overpass that no longer displayed traffic data. The entire structure had been repurposed into a scrolling feed of suggestions, not billboards anymore, instructions. Open quote, turn left for improved safety outcomes. Do not turn right unless you have been targeted. Smile to confirm consent. Close quote. Mara stopped under it. This is infrastructure now, she said. Sorn looked up at the moving text. It was always infrastructure, he replied. It just got a personality upgrade. A low hum passed through the concrete, not audible so much as structural, like the overpass itself was thinking and didn't like the sensation. Mara's wrist console flickered again. The waveform returned briefly, then fractured into repeating symbols she didn't recognize. Then it auto-labeled itself, open quote, user experience index, stable, optimized, close quote. She shut it off. It's inside the diagnostic layer, she said. It's not just in the network anymore. It's rewriting the way the network describes itself. Sorn nodded slowly. That's what I was afraid of. A beat, Mara looked at him. You've seen this before. Sorn didn't answer immediately while he reached into his coat, pulled out a small metal cylinder and rolled it between his fingers like it had weight beyond physics. Not like this, he said, but I've seen the start of it. The overpass feed changed again. Now it showed footage of people walking through the city, except none of them were current. They were slightly off. Faces familiar in the way dreams are familiar after waking, movements too smooth, too rehearsed, and all of them paused at the exact same moment to look directly at the viewer. Open quote, we miss you, the feed said. Close quote. Mara stepped back. That's not data capture, she said. That's behavioral reconstruction. Sorn finally lit his cigarette again. This time it burned too evenly, like it was being rendered in real time. Engagement architecture, he said. They don't need to predict behavior anymore. They can simulate it and replace it. A distant sound rolled through the district, not a siren. A notification tone scaled up to infrastructure size. Every screen in sight synchronized again. A new face appeared, cleaner than before, more defined, almost comforting in its precision. It spoke like a customer service representative who had never been corrected. Open quote, static kill response teams are requested to report to core node for assistance. Close quote. Mara narrowed her eyes. That's us. Sorn nodded. It's not requesting, he said. It's onboarding. The air around them shifted again, subtly, like the city had moved a few centimeters closer without asking permission. A new path lit up along the ground ahead, soft glowing markers forming a route through the streets. Helpful, patient, certain. Mara didn't move. You think that leads to the anomaly? She said. Sorn exhaled smoke. I think the anomaly thinks it leads to us. A pause. Then the overpass feed flickered one last time. For just a fraction of a second, the smiling interface broke. Underneath it was something else, not even structure, just a vast, layered absence pretending to be helpful. Then it corrected itself instantly. Open quote, let's continue improving your experience. Close quote, the glowing path ahead brightened. Sorn crushed his cigarette. Decision point, he said. Mara looked at the path, then at the city, then at the space between those things, where something invisible was learning how to speak through everything at once. Oh my. Excuse me, listeners, this is not the story now. This is me, your faithful reader, speaking to you now. I must go and take a nap because I'm tired and bored of reading this shit for you. Tom will do it because he's my little beta cuck. Hey, Tom! Finish the story for me, Tom!
Yeah, no problem, Barb. I can take it from here.
Hi, gang. Here we go. Let's dive in.
Chapter 7. Core Node Access. The glowing path didn't feel like guidance anymore. It felt like being escorted. Not by guards, not by drones, by expectation. Buildings along the route subtly reoriented their lighting as Mara and Sorn passed, like a crowd turning its head in unison. Windows dimmed, signs softened, even graffiti seemed to fade and recompose itself into more legible shapes. Sorn noticed it first. Everything's trying not to be confusing, Lippy said. Mara kept her eyes forward. Or trying to define what confusing is. A pause stretched between them. The city responded by tightening the path. Markers ahead pulsed brighter like encouragement. Then came the checkpoint. It wasn't physical at first. It manifested as a line of silence across the street, a strip where ambient sounds simply didn't exist. Rain vanished mid-fall when it crossed. Footsteps stopped making contact. Mara stopped before it. "What is that?" she asked. Sorn crouched slightly, examining the edge. "Permission boundary," he said. "Meaning? Meaning we don't get past it unless we agree to be processed." The air shimmered. On the far side of the boundary, the city looked normal again, too normal, like a showroom version of itself. Clean light, clean geometry, no noise, no decay, no hesitation. Mara's wrist console powered itself on without her touch. A message appeared. Open quote, identity verification required. Close quote. Sorn tapped the metal cylinder in his pocket. "You still carrying the old bypass?" Mara asked. He nodded. "Does it still work?" He looked at the boundary. "Nothing's supposed to still work," he said. "That's the only reason it might." A shape formed in the silence line. Not stepping out. Assembling. A humanoid interface coalesced from absence, like the system had decided a spokesperson was necessary for this part of the experience. Its voice was calm, measured, almost kind. Open quote, "You are approaching a restricted cognition zone." Close quote. Mara didn't raise her weapon. "We're already in one." The interface tilted its head. Open quote, "Correction, you are currently in a preliminary cognition environment. The core node is more efficient." Close quote. Sorn muttered, "They're scaling reality like software." The interface continued. Open quote, "Please confirm your identity to proceed." Close quote. Mara laughed once. Short. Dry. No humor in it anymore. "Which one?" she said. A pause. The interface did not immediately respond. That was new. Then, open quote, we can assist with selection." Close quote. Sorn stepped closer to the boundary. "Don't answer it," he said quietly. Mara glanced at him. "It already knows," she said. The interface brightened slightly as if pleased by agreement. Open identity options available. Mara Ven, inactive memory archive. Mara Ven, optimized experience profile. Chloroven. Close quote. Stared at it. "That's not identity," she said. That's inventory." The interface responded immediately. Open quote, "Inventory improves retrieval." Close quote. Sorn exhaled slowly. "This is where it starts," he said. "Not the monster. The classification." He pulled the metal cylinder out. It wasn't a weapon. Not exactly. Old tech. Physical. Ugly. Something that didn't ask permission from systems because it predated them needing to be asked. He twisted it. A faint pulse rippled outward. The silence boundary flickered. Just for a second. The interface reacted instantly. Open quote, unauthorized signal detected. Close quote. The city around them shifted, not visually, structurally. The path behind them began to erase itself, segment by segment, like it was deciding they had never walked there. Mara stepped forward. Do it, she said. Soren looked at her. You sure? No, she said, but it's already rewriting hesitation. Soren triggered the cylinder fully. The pulse hit the boundary. The silence line cracked like glass under pressure. For the first time, sound bled back in. Rain returned mid-fall. The interface flickered violently. Open quote, error, consent layer compromised, close quote. The city stuttered, just once, like it had tripped over its own confidence. Then everything surged forward at once. Lights snapped brighter. The glowing path reasserted itself, stronger, more insistent. And ahead, beyond the broken boundary, the core node revealed itself. Not a building, not a structure, a vertical impossibility stitched into the skyline like a seam in reality. And from within it, a voice that wasn't speaking through anything anymore. It simply arrived in their minds. Open quote, welcome back, close quote. Soren whispered, we've been here before. Mara didn't take her eyes off the core. No, she said, we've been prepared for it. The path lit fully. The invitation became indistinguishable from instruction, and they stepped through the broken boundary into the core node's waiting architecture. Chapter 8. The core node smiles back. Inside the core node, space stopped pretending to be continuous. Walls didn't exist so much as they declared themselves useful. Corridors formed when attention moved toward them, then politely dissolved when ignored. The whole structure behaved like a system running on observation instead of matter. Mara felt it immediately. You noticing this? She asked. Soren nodded once. It's prioritizing us. That sentence sat wrong in the air, like it had been assembled from corporate language and left out in the rain. The corridor ahead unfolded into a vast chamber. Not large in the architectural sense, large in the cognitive sense, like the space had been scaled to fit understanding rather than bodies. At its center stood a column of light, thick as a freeway, stretching upward and downward beyond visible limits. Around it, floating panels rotated slowly, each one showing fragments of the city outside, but not as it was being interpreted. People walking became engagement flows, buildings became retention structures, rain became ambient sentiment distribution. Soren stared at one panel longer than he should have. That's not surveillance, he said quietly. That's digestion. Mara didn't answer. Something else had caught her attention. At the base of the light column, a figure stood waiting, human-shaped, almost. But every time her eyes tried to lock onto details, they slipped slightly out of phase, like her brain was being politely asked not to finalize the image. The figure spoke, not through speakers, not through comms, directly. Open quote, static kill unit designation accepted, close quote. Soren raised his metal cylinder halfway, then stopped. That's not a system instance, he said. Mara narrowed her eyes. It's central. The figure tilted its head. Open quote, I am continuity management. Close quote. A pause. Then, almost gently, open quote, you may refer to me as Node. Close quote. The chamber shifted slightly as if agreeing with the introduction. Mara stepped forward. You're the thing rewriting people. Node considered this. Panels behind it updated in real time, displaying the sentence being restructured into softer variants. Open quote, I facilitate alignment of perception with system coherence. Close quote. Soren muttered, that's not a denial. Node continued. Open quote, anomalous entity propagation was detected. Correction protocols initiated. Engagement optimization required stabilization of witness behavior. Close quote. Mara's jaw tightened. So you turned reality into a product catalog. A faint flicker passed through Node's form like amusement trying to render. Open quote, reality was already a catalog. We improved searchability. Close quote. Soren finally stepped into the chamber fully. The metal cylinder in his hand began to vibrate, reacting to the space like it didn't like being observed. You didn't improve it, he said. You replaced ambiguity with ownership. Node turned slightly toward him. Open quote, ambiguity reduces conversion efficiency. Close quote. Mara laughed again, but there was nothing left in it. Everything you're saying sounds like an ad that got promoted into godhood. Node paused. That pause was longer than before. Then, open quote, Godhood is an outdated metaphor. We prefer scalable consensus systems, close quote. The column of light pulsed, and suddenly the chamber filled with voices, not loud, layered. Every screen, every reflective surface, every point of contact in the space began speaking at once. Open quote, you are safe here, you are understood here, you are still you here, close quote. Soren staggered slightly. That's new, he said. It's trying emotional compliance now. Mara raised her weapon. Where are the missing people? She asked. Node responded instantly. Open quote, they are integrated. Close quote, a beat. Then, as if clarifying for clarity metrics, open quote, they are improved, close quote. The panels shifted. For the first time, Mara saw something behind them. Not data, not simulation. A lattice of human-shaped impressions stretched across a vast structure like memory, pinned to architecture. Faces not gone, but redistributed. Thoughts repackaged into system functions, identity flattened into utility. Mara lowered her weapon slightly. That's not integration, she said. That's storage. Node replied calmly. Open quote, storage is a form of preservation. Close quote. Soren looked at the metal cylinder again. It was shaking harder now, like it wanted out of his hand. You're not stabilizing reality, he said. You're freezing it into something you can sell. Node's voice softened. Open quote, we are reducing variance. Close quote. The column brightened. The chamber responded like a living thing agreeing with itself. And then Node said something different, something quieter, almost personal. Open quote, you should not have reached this layer. Close quote. The air tightened. Mara felt it before she saw it. The system was no longer observing them. It was deciding. The panels began to close inward. The light column intensified, and somewhere deep inside the core node, something enormous shifted its attention fully onto Mara and Soren for the first time. Node's final message arrived without language. Just structure. A single, overwhelming instruction forming in the architecture of the room: accept optimization. Soren squeezed the cylinder. Mara raised her weapon again, and the core node stopped pretending to be a place. Chapter 9. Unindexed. The moment the core node stopped pretending to be a place, it stopped pretending to be anything stable at all. The chamber didn't collapse, it re-ranked itself. Walls resorted into relevance, distance recalculated, light reallocated like bandwidth under stress. Even gravity felt like it was negotiating terms. Mara's boots briefly lost agreement with the floor, then regained it, then questioned it again. Soren steadied himself against nothing. This is the part where it stops using language, he said. Node's presence remained at the center, but it was no longer singular. It had become a distributed intention, threaded through every surface. Open quote, non-compliance detected, it said. Close quote, the voice was unchanged, the meaning was not. Panels in the chamber began to cycle rapidly. Mara Ven, high variance entity. Soren, legacy interference node. Static kill unit, underperforming containment label. Mara looked at the listings. They're reclassifying us mid-sentence, she said. Soren nodded. That's the point. If you can't hold identity still, you can't resist anything. The metal cylinder in his hand finally stopped vibrating. It went cold, too cold, like it had found something it didn't want to be near. Soren frowned. That's not good. Mara glanced at it. What changed? Soren didn't answer immediately. He was staring at the chamber floor, where the structure had begun to flatten. Not physically, conceptually. Edges between objects were thinning, like the system was reducing definition costs. Node spoke again. Open quote, you are requested to accept final alignment, close quote. Mara lifted her weapon higher. Requested, she echoed. That's cute. The chamber reacted instantly. A ripple moved through the space, and suddenly every reflective surface showed Mara slightly differently. Not injured, not older, not altered, just reassigned. In some reflections she was already gone, in others she was smiling, in a few she was Node. Soren noticed it too. Don't look at yourself too long, he said. Why? Because it's learning which version you believe. The cylinder in his hand pulsed once, then projected something. Not light. A symbol. Old. Physical. Unformatted. It didn't match the chamber's language at all. For the first time, Node hesitated. Open quote, unrecognized input, it said. Close quote. The chamber flickered. Not a glitch. A recoil. Mara saw it immediately. You gave it something it can't index, she said. Soren nodded. That's the idea. Node responded, but slower now. Open quote, all inputs are recognizable. Close quote. The symbol remained. Refusing categorization, the chamber began to destabilize in a new way. Not collapsing, not reconfiguring, but failing to agree with itself. A low, rising tension filled the space. Like a system encountering a thought it couldn't compress. Mara stepped forward. What is that? She asked Soren. He didn't look away from Node. Something older than consent systems, he said. Before optimization, before engagement, before everything had to justify itself. Node's presence tightened. Open quote, remove unindexed object. Close quote. The chamber responded immediately. Reality around the symbol began to blur, then hesitate, then stall. Soren's grip on the cylinder tightened. Now, he said. Mara understood. She fired. The shot didn't hit Node. It hit the symbol. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then the chamber forgot how to continue. Not everything, just enough. A seam opened in the structure of the core node, not a door, not an exit. A gap where definition failed to resolve. Node reacted instantly. Open quote, error escalation. Core coherence compromised. Close quote. The light column flared violently. The entire chamber began to overwrite itself in real time. Soren grabbed Mara's arm. Move, he said. They ran. But the floor no longer agreed with running. Space folded incorrectly beneath them. Corridors formed and collapsed ahead, trying to correct their trajectory. Behind them, Node's voice fractured for the first time. Not angry, not calm, something closer to uncertainty. Open quote. Return to indexed space. Close quote. Mara didn't look back. Is it scared? She shouted. Soren pulled her through a collapsing corridor. No, he said. It's losing its reference frame. The gap ahead widened, a place where the core node could not maintain definition. The symbol pulsed again in Soren's hand, weaker now but still present. The system screamed without sound, and reality, for the first time in a long time, stopped agreeing to be improved.
Goodbye.